Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Republican presidential candidate 2024, of course. You've already filed here, Governor. Yesterday, former President Donald Trump filing and then having the event in Derry. But let me start off this morning and welcome both governors. Thanks for joining us on our network of news talk stations.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We're excited to be back in New Hampshire.
In all due respect, the Florida governor, I'm going to start with the New Hampshire governor and and ask him a question, because I'm sure with the talk of your trip today, which is going to culminate tonight on the Seacoast with events in Portsmouth and Rye, New Hampshire, Governor Sununu is traveling all day with you, Governor DeSantis. He's already been out and about this morning. You're in our studios. So, Governor, my question is, some people are going to say, what's the message here in terms of you being with the Florida governor the day after Donald Trump files? If you're Nikki Haley, Chris Christie's on the show Friday, he'd love your endorsement. Nikki Haley would. Vivek Ramaswamy. What's the message if you're one of these Republicans running that you're spending the day with the Florida governor all day?
Well, look, the biggest message is New Hampshire's up for grabs, right? If you listen to national media, you think it's some sort of fait accompli for Donald Trump. And we just know in New Hampshire on the ground, that's not the way it works. A lot of us won't even decide who we're voting for till the last couple of weeks. Governor DeSantis has an incredible record of good retail campaigning in Florida. He's bringing that to the national stage. He's done this incredible job in Iowa. He's spending time in New Hampshire. And look, I try to bring the best out of everybody in terms of that retail campaigning and politics, introduce them around. I've had a lot of folks come up to me in the past few months. I want to meet Governor DeSantis. I want to meet Governor DeSantis. Well, here he is. And so we're going to go to a bunch of different events. We're at the Red Arrow Diner, the Beach Plum, some house parties, visited some businesses. And that's what it's all about. One-on-one, shaking the hands, looking them in the eye, and letting anybody ask any questions. Not getting stuck behind rope lines. We saw a few rope lines with former President Trump yesterday. He had about 12 supporters or something sitting in the hallway. It was pretty pathetic. Same old crowd you'd ever seen. And that's kind of the message. Trump is, look, thank you for your service. Thank you for your 4 years. Some good policy ideas you didn't execute. There's an opportunity for the Republican Party to really move forward nationally, and Governor DeSantis is trying to take them there.
Your father, your family, Governor, you know this primary probably better than anyone I know. You think it's up for grabs. Trump doesn't have this one.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Let me welcome in the Florida Governor, Ron DeSantis. Thanks for being a governor. And let's start with Donald Trump. He's here yesterday. You're used to the questions. Do you feel you could move between now and January and make inroads here? Does Donald Trump have this wrapped up or not?
Of course not. He's got a certain base of support, but there's way more people that definitely aren't going to vote for him. And then there's a lot of voters who are considering him, but also considering others. And he's very well known. He gets most of the media attention. But as you start getting closer to this, and that's why I think it's important to be on the ground in Iowa and New Hampshire, media can say what they want. When voters are able to kick the tires, shake your hand, ask you a question, listen to your message, that trumps everything else out there. And what I've found when I'm out is I will do my spiel, or I'll just meet with voters, and people come up to me, they'll say, you flip me from Trump to you. I'm with you now, because I think people know I'm governor of Florida. They know I've done a good job, but they want to know more about me. They want to know more about where I take the country. And Donald Trump, I think, he's running on a lot of the same things he promised to do in 2016 and didn't deliver. He's really doing a lot of teleprompter speeches, not getting out there and talking to voters. I think he has a sense of entitlement that somehow he has this, that they just owe it to him. You got to earn this thing, and I'm going to earn it in these early states.
And I asked you, Governor DeSantis, the first time you were on Good Morning New Hampshire, if you recall, you joined us from Florida. I said, before you face Joe Biden or whoever the Democrats put up, because I'm not convinced Governor Sununu has commented in the past it will be Joe Biden, but I presume it is, you have to win the primary. And my question was, how do you defeat Donald Trump? You just touched upon that. But do you agree with me that Trump, the story so far, both of you can comment on this, Governor Sununu and Governor DeSantis, has been Trump's got a big lead in New Hampshire. Trump's got a big lead in New Hampshire. Trump's got a big lead in New Hampshire. Does he need to win New Hampshire? And how do you defeat him here between now and January? I mean, tactically on the ground, how do you take away some of those Trump voters, or is it more appealing to independent voters who can vote in the primary?
I think it's both. I think both sets of voters realize the country's declining. They want to see that decline reversed. They want to see us get on a trajectory where we're going to deliver big results that are going to be good for American people, that are going to provide a new birth of freedom in this country, and it's going to lead to an American revival. And I think that message spans across. And Exhibit A for that was what we did in Florida, because we won 60-40. You don't do that with just Republicans. Yeah, the Republicans love what we did, but so did the independents, and so did other discerning Democrats. So that's what you got to do. And I think Governor Sununu has pointed out Trump's pathway to 270 electoral votes is it's basically non-existent if you can't win a state like Georgia. So we've got to have a candidate that can do that. And here's I think the at the end of the day, what primary voters just should think about. There are voters that don't like Biden 100%. And there are voters that don't like Trump. The voters that dislike both tend to hate Trump more than they hate Biden. So if they're pushed to it, they will default against Trump. We need all those. Right. If you think Biden's doing a bad job, you think the country's in the wrong direction, we need all those voters to come our way in November of 2024. Otherwise, we're not going to win. Yeah.
And look, Jack, if I can, you talk about Trump has a lead. Well, look, he was the former president. He's sitting at 42%. That's actually terrible for an incumbent, for a former president, right? And a third of his support has said in all those polls, oh, yeah, they would consider another candidate. So he's incredibly soft for someone who actually, was the former president and kind of comes in with all that stature, so to say. So there's an immense amount of opportunity. And the argument I would make to folks in New Hampshire are we're a state of local government, right? Mm-hmm. We care about it. Our school boards matter. Our planning boards matter. We lost school board races because the branding of the Republican Party wasn't where it needed to be. We lost local races. We've lost our congressional race because we get stuck with this brand of yesterday, as opposed to saying, hey, we're going to move forward. We're going to bring this country forward and get everybody excited about a new candidate, a younger candidate, a new generation of the Republican Party that everybody across the country would galvanize around.
Governor DeSantis, before you announced and you won re-election by not a small amount, a very large amount in Florida, you started getting attacked by Donald Trump and the national media a lot. But you were the big Republican name, almost bigger than Trump's at the time. Then we started to get into this process. And Nikki Haley recently, the former governor of South Carolina, ambassador to the UN, has been trending pretty well in the polls, if you believe the polls, into a second place. And you're right there, and everyone else is in single digits. What do you think the appeal is with Governor Haley?
Look, I think if you look at how this race has gone, you've had Trump, you've had me, then someone will get, and then they'll go down, someone will go up, then they'll go down. So I think that's just kind of the cycle about how that happens. But the reality is, this party is going to nominate somebody that has a record of delivering on America First principles. And I have that record. I don't think the other Trump challengers have that same record. We did it, of course, in Florida, but also we'll be able to do that nationally. So that's how it'll end up doing. I'm looking forward to this next debate. I don't think it's going to be quite as crowded of a stage. And I think that'll give us more opportunity to actually air out our visions. When you have 8 candidates and it's like a minute and then some people are yelling back and forth, I think most of our voters looked at those first 2 debates and didn't think that they were terribly productive. So hopefully this one will be smaller, it'll be more substantive, and we can really start getting into how are you going to lead this country? And I'm the guy that can bring the country back. Speaking
of leading the country, a lot of the listeners may not know this, but Governor Sununu recently, I think, came back from the Middle East, and I want him to maybe follow you. But my question is still with you, Governor DeSantis. You're one of the only candidates I know in recent time and currently that actually served in the military. You served in the Navy, lieutenant commander. I think you did a combat tour. That's been rare more recently than not, because we do have a civilian commander in chief, but you do that. With what's going on right now in the world, the continuing war with Ukraine, war between Israel and Hamas, and what's going on. And you saw Donald Trump's message yesterday, more about national security. Do you feel you have an edge there now when you're running now with Donald Trump? Because a lot of the generals that Donald Trump brought in to serve with him in the first term, including General Kelly, Mattis from the Marines, there's no love lost now between them and their former boss. And my question is, are moms and dads out there who are going to vote in New Hampshire, they a little more worried about borders and safety at home and world war, avoiding it at all costs? And are they looking at a different kind of commander-in-chief, do you think, going into 2024?
Well, I will actually build the wall, and I will actually have Mexico pay for it like Donald Trump promised in 2016. And if you look at the 7 million plus illegals that have come in under Biden, they would not have been able to have that many if Trump had finished the wall and done his promise. And so I will get that done. I think border security is national security. You can't just talk about it. You got to do it. I will remove the people that have come illegally under Biden in particular, because I think you've had people from the Middle East, China, all these other places. So that'll be a day one thing. And I'm the guy that can actually execute that. The other thing is, yes, I served in Iraq. That was back in the day with Al-Qaeda in Iraq. We also had Iranian militias that were killing U.S. troops, lost probably about 1,000 of our troops at the hands of Iran. Have extensive experience in the Middle East. I was on House Foreign Affairs for 6 years. We dealt with all these issues. I've been right about all these issues for many, many years. And then, of course, as governor, our state would be the 13th biggest economy in the world. So I've dealt with all these leaders, whether it's Japan, whether it's Israel and beyond. So I'll be able to come in, execute this, but also have a broader vision for how we keep the country safe. And I think the Hamas-Israel war is very important. I think the issues in Europe are very important. The greatest threat, though, that this country faces is Communist Party of China. And right. China's making out like bandits right now. The eye's been taken off the ball. We have not done enough in the Indo-Pacific to be able to deter their ambitions there. And if China is able to dominate the Pacific, that will lead to them dominating the economy globally, and it will change this country for the worse. So we're actually going to be rolling out our strategy on Friday at the Heritage Foundation up in Washington, D.C., but I think I'll be the only candidate that is actually clear-eyed about the threat posed by China and that has a strategy that can actually protect this country.
Governor Sununu, just on world events,
changing
the scope.
Look, I'm a strong believer. I think that Governor DeSantis is too, that you foster world peace through America's strength. We have to be strong. Now let's look at former President Trump. Putin's a genius. He said complimentary things about a terrorist organization of Hamas. He brags about, I love China. I love working with China. That is not the strength that America needs. And if you're a veteran, if you have somebody a family member in the service, you need somebody at the tip of the spear here. We haven't had it with Biden. We didn't have it with Trump. It was a lot of talk that actually will foster that notion of America's strength across the world to make sure that we're secure both here and our allies know they can count on us. Our enemies know they should fear us. That kind of strength really matters, and it has a triggering and domino effect to our economy, to our way of life, to fostering freedom all across the world. Trump had his chance. He blew it. You're
listening live, Governor Chris Sununu in studio with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, presidential candidate. We come back, a quick question or two on energy before I let these two go. And it may not be an endorsement, but Chris Sununu is spending the day with the Florida governor right on through
I'm endorsing you, Jack.
No. I want to hear about
I think you were robbed in that congressional loss back in the 90s.
I want to know when you're going to get that national TV show. I just want to know. Maybe I'll watch. I think you'd be great at it. Back on Good Morning Hampshire, the Pulse of an Age. DeSantis, Sununu. Keep it right here.
Sundays at 3 on the Pulse of New Hampshire, it's Gun Talk.
with Governor DeSantis, the one reason why I love doing this show, maybe you will love doing a national show, is the people that listen. I just got a message from a certain other campaign wanting to know if the guy can call in tomorrow morning instead of yesterday when maybe they were here. I don't know. Maybe they're listening.
I think you have a much bigger audience than you appreciate.
No, but I think
they all
it's funny
tune out
because,
after 10 minutes.
No, but I think it's funny that you that you bring that out. Hey, I want to let's stay with you, Governor Sununu, for a moment. Governor Ron DeSantis here. I'm going to cut to the chase one last time. I know you're spending time promoting the primary, the candidates, getting out there. I know you love to do this, by the way, in terms of meeting the folks, and you've been doing this for 4 terms. Mm-hmm. But again, if you're Nikki Haley and it's the day after Donald Trump was here, or you're Donald Trump or Chris Christie, and you're with Ron DeSantis all day, I'm sure there's a little bit of political jealousy there. And when are they going to be with you all day? My question is, are you going to make an endorsement?
Yeah,
and at
probably.
what time? And at what time? And is it possible that you're sitting with someone you may endorse?
Yeah, definitely. No, look, there's a couple of candidates I could definitely endorse. My guess is I'll as soon as I know, I'll let everybody else know. I mean, really, I'm not very good at being coy. I think the third debate is going to be really impactful. You're going to have a smaller crowd. They're all going to have a little more airtime. They're going to be. It's okay if they're chippy. It's okay if they go after each other. That we want to see that, right? Trump won't be there. He'll be chickening it out yet again. And I just think the third debate is going to be the one where people go, okay, this field is really narrowing down. And, if I make an endorsement, I'll make an endorsement. But understand, don't put too much stock in my endorsement. I mean, this is New Hampshire. Everyone makes their decision on their own. So I just want to help all the candidates as best I can right now.
Well, I'm not sure the Bush family would agree with you. There was a governor named Sununu once when the vice president Bush Sr. came out of Iowa,
we're having a good time, and you got to bring up my dad.
He pretty much got him onto a farm and scamming, and next thing you know, it's President Bush. Hey, real quickly, though, Michael Graham, New Hampshire Journal, was on yesterday. He's on in the mornings with us. He was traveling with Donald Trump. He said his recent reader survey, not a poll, said, Jack, who's going to beat Trump? Trump's got this one. I said, I don't know, Michael. And he's been saying on the show that, and I want to come back to what you said in one of the first questions. You don't think this primary is over in terms of Donald Trump winning New Hampshire's primary?
Oh, absolutely not. Look, remember in November, a few elections ago, when Herman Cain led in 5 different polls and he was out of the race by Christmas, right? So anything can happen. It all starts to move kind of after Veterans Day, a little before Thanksgiving. Families start to talk over Thanksgiving. They really get engaged in Iowa, New Hampshire in December, and then they really see who pounds the pavement in January. So just a ton of opportunity for movement. Yeah.
I'm going to ask Governor DeSantis a question I asked actually now President Biden when he ran in 2020 on an interview like this, because at that time he was older and there were questions. And I asked him, why are you doing this? Question I always ask folks like yourselves running. Why are you running for president? It's a question a lot of times they don't expect. And President Biden said he talked to his kids and the grandkids and he felt he was, he needed to do it. Question to you. You're at the stage in life where you're on the younger side, one of the younger candidates running. You get a great family. You're governor of a big state. You just got reelected. Some would say that you could do this 2028, down the road. Why did you choose to run at this time in history now, Governor DeSantis, versus waiting to see, knowing that Donald Trump was likely going to jump back into this thing?
Because the country's in decline. It's not going to be enough to just manage the decline a little bit better than the Democrats. We need to reverse this decline and get this country on a pathway where we can have a revival of the American experiment. And yes, I have a 6, 5, and 3-year-old at home. I look at this generation of Americans may be the first that turns over to our kids and grandkids in America less prosperous and less free than the one we inherited. I'm not just going to sit on the sidelines for that. Also, just as a veteran, I think about all the people that have sacrificed throughout the generations so that we can be free. People have worn the uniform. They've risked their lives. They've given their lives throughout multiple generations. I'm not just going to fritter that away and allow their legacy to be tarnished. So now is the time for choosing. This is the make or break election. The time for excuses is over. We're not getting a mulligan on the 2024 election. We need a candidate to win this primary, win the general, and deliver on all the things we need to have happen to turn the country around.
And Governor DeSantis, I'll jump in when you want, Governor Sununu, but one quick follow-up, and that is, what do you say to voters? Because they're shopping. New Hampshire, you may think that they're all decided. They're not. A lot of people are really looking at this now as we get into the holidays and the new year, and the primary's coming up sooner than later. And they say, well, Governor DeSantis, he seems popular in Florida, kind of like him, kind of like, seems nice and all that. But he seems to fight the woke stuff too much, or he went after Disney too much and he's battling too much. And I don't know if I'm going to kind of look at something else. What do you say to some people, whether it's on, some of the early stuff you did on parents' right to know what's happening in their school with their kids' education, the K through 3rd? I mean, and the whole Disney stuff. And, you've definitely been pronounced going after certain things, even in the private sector, that you think went too far. So what do you say to someone who's shopping? Is Ron DeSantis too much like that, or is that a good thing?
So one, standing up for kids is a good thing. I mean, that's the right thing to do. And it's wrong to have things like transgenderism taught in kindergarten, first grade, telling a kid they can change their gender. And we'll fight left-wing people in the legislature. We'll fight people regardless to defend kids. But I would also say, if you look at Florida, we're number one for new business formations, number one in economy by CNBC, fastest growing state. I've paid down almost 25% of our state's total debt just since I've been governor. We've cut taxes. We've won budget surpluses. You'd be hard pressed to find a more vibrant economic climate right now than the state of Florida. And that's because we've led. Yes, in COVID, we kept things open, which was very important, but we've done so many other things. So I think woke ideology is a threat to this country. I think we have to fight it and we have to win, because once institutions become corrupted by ideology, they become worthless. And we've seen that. But we've succeeded on a full spectrum of things. We have the lowest crime rate Florida's had in 50 years, even while these other cities are falling apart across the country. We've succeeded on even things like environmental restoration. I've brought the Everglades back. No one thought that was happen. We got down there and did that. Very important for a state that relies on our natural resources. So we've succeeded across the board. If you're someone that's concerned about woke, I'm definitely your guy. But if you're someone that's concerned about economic vitality, I'm your guy. Education choice, I'm your guy. Law and order, I'm your guy.
And I guess real quickly on energy, because we could talk an hour with Governor Sununu and you on this, but do you think our current energy policy right now, when you're looking at OPEC, when you're looking at Tehran, China, Russia, some would say the head of Eversource did, our largest utility, that by continuing to make it expensive for our electricity producers to buy natural gas, not here, but over there, that we're enriching the war in Ukraine, for example. Putin makes money. So how do we have a debate on energy in this country to make people realize it's not only more affordable, but we can be independent. It's a security issue, and we can still have a good, clean environment. How do we make that debate?
You make the debate by electing me, because we will reverse Biden's Green New Deal. We will open up our oil and gas resources, have all the above, but independent energy, energy dominant. And you're right, Jack. Yes, I want to lower your gas prices. We will do that. I want to lower electricity rates. We will do that if we have more supply. But from a national security perspective, an energy dominant America is bad for China, bad for Russia, bad for Iran. A Biden energy policy, Green New Deal, benefits Russia, it benefits China, and it benefits Iran. So there's a lot of things we need to do for our security. This energy dominance and energy independence is as close to a silver bullet as we're going to find. We will do that on day one.
Final thoughts, the debate on energy is very easy. Open your electric bill. Period. End of story. The last 3 years have been a disaster in terms of being able to afford energy in this country. And what's the result? America now has more credit card debt than ever before. We're carrying more debt. We're carrying more personal burdens for our families because nothing is affordable. And by the way, this whole idea that inflation was 10, 12%, that is a bunch of bull. We all know that's false. Prices in certain things have skyrocketed 30, 40, 50%. To build a road now is almost twice as much as it was just 3 or 4 years ago. So everything's more expensive. It's all being driven by immense federal spending by both Biden and the Trump administration, by the way. Trump overspent by $6 trillion, right? Where was the fiscal discipline there? Right. So to have a governor, to have someone that actually is results driven, that's what everyone should be focusing on, regardless of who you're going to support. Is it someone who actually talked a good game or actually got results, got things done? I got to give Governor DeSantis credit. And don't forget that hurricane. That hurricane was an absolute disaster for Florida. They said they weren't going to open that island for 18 months, whatever it was. A couple weeks later, Governor DeSantis is getting it open. So that's just one example of just someone that can get on the front line, say, how do we get this done? Put everyone to task and make something happen for citizens.
Lightning round before I'll let you go. Both governors, you have a busy day. Governor DeSantis, do you think we'll have a new Republican House Speaker tonight, tomorrow, by the end of the week?
I'd probably take the under on that if I was a betting man.
And Governor Sununu, I guess the question is, when you do make an endorsement, I think some people would actually argue it does matter. Will it be a governor?
Yeah, very likely. Governor, former governor, existing governor. It won't be a former president, I'll tell you that.
And Governor DeSantis, watch this one. You'll like this one, maybe. Governor Sununu, you're in the end of your most recently reelected fourth term.
I still got another year. Let's not put the nail in the coffin just yet, Jack.
You got a new budget through.
Yep.
We'll see where things go. But New Hampshire, arguably, is in pretty darn good shape compared to other states. Everything we talk about, quality of life. Have you rolled out a run down the road for a national office again, or another,
nothing
like
I'm
U.S.
looking
Senate?
at. No, nothing I'm looking at.
What
Like
are you
said,
looking
maybe
at? Some
I'll get
people
a
ask me, and I say, I don't know. I haven't talked. What are you looking at after?
I'm looking at getting a paycheck. I'm not going to lie to you, man. Look, I live in the same house. I got a mortgage. I still mow my own lawn, for goodness sake. So no, I'd like to get back to the private sector and see what happens. And I still consider, I know I'm 48. I act like I'm 28, but I still consider myself young. Who knows what might.
What if the Republican nominee in the end ends up asking you to consider being a vice presidential candidate?
I will help anyone. I will be helpful to anyone who asks. Don't get me.
All right. Thank you both very much for your time. Good luck today. Beautiful day out there. It's something you may not see in Florida, Governor. These popping leaves, the foliage. Enjoy it. Governor Ron DeSantis, 2024 presidential candidate. Governor Chris Sununu in our studios. Thank you both for the time, and have a great New Hampshire day.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate
All right.
it.
Good morning, New Hampshire. The Pulse of Nate, Shaq, Heath, J-Dog, and the boards. Back in a moment.
107.7 WTPL, the pulse of New Hampshire.